So since this month is all about letting you guys get to know the dudes behind Kato a little more, I thought I'd go ahead and give you guys my top 5 favorite manga list. Fair warning, like with most media I tend to have a recency bias when it comes to manga, so don't expect this list to have too many of the classics. Number 5, The Promised Neverland. The first entry on my list that we'll be discussing is also the newest manga on the list. Best Guy Ever said he thinks Dr. Stone is better than this, but personally I've gotten more enjoyment out of TPN. Don't get me wrong, Dr. Stone is great for all the reasons he listed in his video, but The Promised Neverland is usually a better read than Dr. Stone. The whole series is a battle of wits between these kids, who are essentially like residents of Whammy's house, and more often than not, monsters that literally want to eat them. It's just too damn cool. The series as a whole just has deeply intriguing writing, as these mighty little men are tasked with finding out the truth of the world shrouded in secrecy around them, as well as how to keep themselves safe from imminent death. And I'll admit, I'll have a soft spot for stories where the main character is convincingly really smart, which the 3 main characters of this series, as well as most of the villains, definitely are. This manga just ticks too many of my boxes not to be on this list. It's got intelligent writing, harrowing stakes, an intriguing setting, and surprises around every corner. This, like every manga on this list, will be one I wholeheartedly recommend to anyone who hasn't gotten around to reading it yet. Number 4, My Hero Academia. Yeah, I'm sure not much really needs to be said about this one. You're either already reading it, or you're intentionally doing your own life a huge disservice, because you've clearly already heard of it. It's the current prince of Shonen Jump, as One Piece will probably always be king. The main reason I place this series higher than The Promised Neverland is that I'm just more invested in the story. Horikoshi is a man who knows how to tug on your heartstrings. Every week I hit up one of my best friends to talk about the new My Hero Academia manga. It's filled the void in my life the Naruto ending left. But it also has, way better writing, which is why Naruto isn't on this list. Spoiler alert. Number 3, Teppu. This is a more obscure manga, I think, because very few people I've met have actually heard of it. But I actually think it's one of those hidden gems that people just haven't heard of for some reason. It's a very unique series, and the protagonist is one of my favorite characters ever. Natsuo Ishido is a natural genius. She's always been good at everything she's tried. It's almost like she's on another level from everyone else. At the start of the series, she comes off as brash and arrogant, even somewhat sadistic as she mocks the people she's better than. Then she meets a girl that she basically decides she just wants to beat up because she doesn't like the way she was smiling. And this girl invited her to her mixed martial art club that she formed. So Natsuo, who I'll remind you is one of my favorite characters ever, follows this girl up to the roof where her mixed martial arts club is, and you find out it's just her and this one other girl who is like her sidekick. And ultimately they decide they're gonna spar. So this kind, friendly girl completely embarrasses Natsuo in a fight. Natsuo is a black belt in karate, but she couldn't even land a hit. When it's all over, Natsuo is completely astounded. She's never met someone she couldn't beat in a fight, and she's tested her theories many times up to this point in her life. So here's the best part. Here's the beauty of this particular manga. Natsuo decides to learn about mixed martial arts and joins a gym to train to beat this girl. And the manga just becomes a manga about female mixed martial arts. It teaches you about mixed martial arts techniques and training, and the professional scene of the Japanese female mixed martial arts community very specifically. It's incredibly interesting. And let's talk about this girl that whipped Natsuo's ass. Her name is Yuzuko Mawatari. Her name is Yuzuko Mawatari. One of my favorite things about Teppu is that one of the ongoing themes of the series is that we're seeing a shonen manga arc from the perspective of an antagonist. In case you haven't caught on, Natsuo is kind of a bad girl. She's not a character who's supposed to be in the right in any way. Everyone makes it clear that she's pretty morally dubious. It's hinted at a couple times in the manga that the dynamics of the characters are familiar manga tropes. Yuzuko is a bubbly, airheaded girl who's really strong because she's trained for most of her life. Her personal rival is a girl named Ringi Cordero, and she's even stronger because she's both talented and trains as much as Yuzuko. So we have a Gon and Killua-esque relationship between the two good girls here. This is all set up so we can view it as Natsuo being the villain of the story. But she's a protagonist, so we're rooting for the bad guy here. I've clearly talked about this manga for longer than any of the others so far, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it short here. I've done enough analysis of this series to do a regular Kato episode on it, but it doesn't have enough of an audience to warrant dedicating a whole week to it. Anyway, back to the list. Number 2, One Punch Man. This manga is incredible. At some point, I was reading every manga on this list as they were coming out, even the ones that are concluded. But One Punch Man is always the manga that I've been most excited to see a new issue for, besides of course the number 1 pick. The universe is just so intriguing. There's so many mysterious and interesting characters, and the story is just so captivating that I can't wait to see more of it unfold. OPM is always a fun read, but it's probably another one you've already heard of. But if you really let it fly under your radar, check it out. Number 1, Liar Game. Those of you in the audience that know me well knew that this would be my number 1 pick. It's another lesser-known one, but it's been my favorite manga for years. The deuteragonist Shinichi Akiyama is my favorite character in anime or manga. He's just a very smart guy. Shinobu Kaitani, the mangaka of Liar Game, has a knack for writing really smart characters. I said earlier that I have a soft spot for convincingly really smart characters. Akiyama, Yokoya, Harimoto, boy, I really fucked myself over here. Akiyama, Yokoya, Harimoto, Kimura, and Fukunaga are all... yeah.
Alright, you ready?
Akiyama, Yokoya, Harimoto, Kimura, and Fukunaga are always scheming, always trying to control things from behind the scenes. And watching their battle of wits is the most engaging thing I've read in any manga yet. And to top it all off, you have the mysterious Liar Game itself, which grants winners millions of yen and plummets losers into crippling debts. Unfortunately for our protagonist, now Kanzaki, she's one of the unfortunate fools in the Liar Game tournament. I've said that Akiyama and Natsu are two of my favorite characters so far, but now Kanzaki is no slouch herself. She enters the Liar's Game tournament with a heart full of gold and foolish naivety, but over the course of the series, she grows strength of character and becomes a strong competitor in the Liar Game herself. Every character in this show is tested, grows stronger, and is tested again. This series basically has everything I like about The Promised Neverland, but to a much greater degree. It's got the most intelligent writing around, character arcs and rivalries, and suspense, mystery, and intrigue. It's a masterpiece. I also want to give one outside honorary mention here, because it's another Shinobu Kaitani work that I really like. But Liar Game kinda outshines it, which is why I didn't want to give it a spot on this list. Anyway, these are my top 5 favorite manga. Let me know what manga you guys love in the comments.